Good evening, and welcome to the European football preview show, should I say. Tonight, I'm joined by my co-host, FmKing. King, how are you today?
Good evening, everybody. I'm okay. Thanks, Chris.
Good stuff. So, trying something new out today. We're going to be going over this week's big Champions League and Europa League football games. So, we've got 4 games to cover for between tomorrow night and Wednesday night, and then the four biggest games from Europa League on Thursday night. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. We're going to be talking Champions League Tuesday, Paris Saint-Germain versus Bayern Munich. King, how do you see this one going tomorrow night?
Well, it's a battle of the Galacticos, isn't it? Really, if you think about the top teams in Europe at the minute, I know that maybe Bayern Munich aren't as strong as they have been in previous years, but they've still got a world class side.
Yeah, definitely.
I do think, was it both teams were unbeaten in their group? I think.
Yeah, I think so. Because
Paris Saint-Germain, I think, drew 2 of theirs, but won 4,
yeah.
and I think Bayern won all of theirs. So they're doing well in the Champions League. I think Mbappe is back. I think from injury.
I think he's back, but I don't think he'll be fully fit. I believe, which I mean, even a half fit Mbappe is still better than some players in the world. That's the thing.
The source that I'm using for injuries is Mukalele and Renato Sanchez are both going to be out.
Okay.
For PSG. Gravenberch, Neuer, and Lucas Hernandez are both out, with Mazwari and Sadio Mane are back in training, but probably aren't going to start. They might not even be fit enough to play.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like, see, obviously PSG. I mean, they've had a bit of a turbulent time just now in the league form. They've not. I mean, I think they lost the last 2 games against Monaco, and who was the last game they played last week? They didn't. They were very, very poor. Maybe Marseille actually. Oh, it was Marseille. Yeah, Marseille in the Coupe de France. So you look at how PSG are going to try and break that kind of form that they've got coming from league form and cup form into probably their biggest game of the season, because they will probably try. They'll probably will win the French league, probably eventually, but the big one for them has always been the Champions League. They've had 4 different managers now trying to win the Champions League, and they've spent so much money on Mbappe, Neymar, now Vitinha. There's obviously losing, bringing in like Messi as well. They've still not won the Champions, the big one for them, their holy grail, if you will.
Well, that's it. Managers win and lose their jobs over this Champions League with PSG, because their league, they're just far better than everybody else in there, even though they are going through a rough stage. And they obviously should be winning their cup competition as well. So, like you said, we've seen managers lose their jobs through having bad Champions League runs. And with their team that they've got and the stars they've got in there, they have got to start producing maybe semi-final and final appearances at least, really, because I think most times they're knocked out in the quarters or something, which for their squad and the amount of money they're spending is just not good enough. Whether they will this time, they've got the players with like the likes of Sergio Ramos, Messi, Neymar, Nuno Mendes, Donnarumma, Marquinhos, Hakimi. They're all fit. So it's just whether they can put something together. But Bayern Munich are on better form in like league competitions and stuff.
Yeah.
Musiala is just fantastic,
Yeah.
Kimmich is quite good normally. They've signed Cancelo, which is only going to make them stronger. We know how good he can be from the Premier League.
Exactly.
If I'm going to do a score prediction, I'd say Bayern Munich will probably win this, but it'll be close. Maybe a 2-1 or a 3-2 or something.
Yeah, I can see that as well. I mean, but like you said, Bayern Munich, they've started to pick up. They're starting to score a lot more goals of late. The goals were kind of a bit of hard to come by for Bayern Munich when, like, Mane was injured. Musiala wasn't linking up with the kind of strikers as he used to do. Müller started scoring goals now in the German league, so it's looking more more positive for Bayern than PSG. You could say, because obviously, like I said, without Mbappe, they've not really scored that many goals. But I would say, I'm gonna go for I'll stick with you. I'll say 2-1 to Bayern. I think it's probably a good shout. Two evenly matched teams. So I think it'll all end up back in the Allianz Arena in a fortnight's time to see who goes through that one.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll be tight. I think the only way that I think PSG win this game is if Messi produces some magic.
Yeah. So our next game, this is a bit of an interesting one, I would say, because it's two teams who are bang out of form. AC Milan versus Tottenham Hotspur. How do you see this one going, King?
Wow. It's like you say, the form that they're in, AC Milan have only won one out of the last four, losing the last... Is it the last four, or did they win the last one and then lost the four before that?
I think they won at the weekend, I think. Yeah, they won
against Torino, yeah. So it was they lost the last four before that. Whereas Tottenham lost the last one, won the three before that, and lost the one before that. So they've got 3 wins and 2 losses. But massive news today coming out of Tottenham Hotspur. Bentancur's out for the rest of the season. He's ruptured his ACL.
That's a big loss.
You've also got Hugo Lloris that was announced, I think, before the Man City game, so about a week ago, that he's out for 8 weeks.
Yes, I think it's between 6 and 8 weeks. Yeah, again, massive loss.
Ryan Sessegnon is also out. Højbjerg suspended for this game, and Yves Bissouma is also out injured. So their midfield, their only central midfielders they've got fit is Oliver Skip and Pape Matar Sarr. You could move Eric Dyer out of defence and move him back to midfield, which is probably going to maybe be an option. Yeah. But then it's putting the likes of Longley, Tanganga, who they're going to put in there to replace Dyer. Dyer's played in centre-back now for so long.
Exactly.
Go on.
I mean, you look at that Tottenham Hotspur team, I mean, especially from the weekend against Leicester, they didn't look, the goal that they scored, yeah, it was a good goal, but they don't look like they're creating much as well. If Son and Kane's not playing well, they don't look like there's anyone else is going to break that kind of midfield or come score a worldie from somewhere like you have done in the past. But I think Spurs under Conte have went backwards since he's came in, and I think it's down. Well, one of the reasons as well is down to poor recruitment, in my opinion. They've not got the midfield. If you lose Bentancur or what do you call Bissouma? Who's you said Oliver Skip. He's barely played in that Sarr. We've hardly seen him as well in any league games as well. Mainly kind of Carabao Cup and FA Cup he's played. It's Spurs are again. They had all the hype of the season coming in. Got some good signings. Lose Lloris, lose Sarr. Lose Bissouma and Højbjerg. Obviously, Højbjerg's be back for the next game. You don't have you don't have many people to replace them with. It's poor, in my opinion.
I agree with you as well in a way. I think, and let's not get this wrong. Conte is a top manager.
Yes, 100%.
He's world class. He's in that bracket of top maybe 10, 15 managers in the world at the minute. You can't take that away from him. I feel the reason why Tottenham have gone backwards under him is because his system and the way he plays is built on a solid defence. And at Inter Milan, he had Bastoni, Skriniar, and De Vrij. At Tottenham, he's got Ben Davies, Eric Dyer, and Romero. And I honestly would say Romero's a good player, but he's not world-class bracket. Dyer is one of them that's versatile. He can be good when he wants to be. He's got mistakes in him. Where's his actual proper position to play? Ben Davies was a left back that's been produced into a left-sided centre back, which he's done a good job there. But he's a player that's sort of, from my point of view, a mid-table Premier League side player, not a top 4 or a Champions League player.
I agree.
So therefore, the recruitment, not buying in the summer, I have a Tottenham fan, and we both said for Tottenham to progress and push, they need to sign a world-class centre-back or two. They went and signed a backup striker in Richarlison. Now, I know that Harry Kane gets injured, but surely you'd spend that 60 million. I know they had a bid accepted for Bastoni, but they never agreed to contract. Why don't they go all out? Tottenham, I feel, are very tight with their money. You go out and you put that money on that player. Do you know what I mean? Because he would have been a game changer.
Yeah, I mean, they brought in one centre back. Well, I think defensive minded player in January there, and Pedro Porro, and he had a debut to forget at the weekend. He was very, very, very poor against Leicester. I mean, don't take nothing away from Leicester; they played well, but this guy's playing. He's played Champions League football for Sporting Lisbon. He's played European football for Sporting Lisbon. It didn't look like it. He looked a fish out of water. He looked very poor, and they lost. I mean, okay, Matt Doherty wasn't the greatest of right backs, but he performed for you. He gave you 110%. He didn't defend as well as he used to do when he was at Wolves and attacking going forward when he was at Wolves. But he still gives you that solid backline. Whereas Pedro Porro's coming to a brand new team that's got no set centre back pairing just now because Romero's in and out of the team, Dyer's in and out of the team. Longley's, I don't know what Longley is. I don't know if he's a left back, a centre back, a person sitting in the bench sometimes. I don't think Conte knows his best team because, and like you said, look at when he was at Chelsea, the Chelsea manager. He had Gary Cahill and at one point John Terry as a centre back pairing for a while, and then he had two wing backs. He had his three wing backs sometimes. Two wing backs on either side, but he had a solid three defenders and Azpilicueta as well when he moved him into centre back pairing. You just don't see that at Spurs. You don't. Like you said, they won 3 games, but then they can go and lose another 4 games afterwards. I just don't think. I think that's a massive game for Spurs. They've got nothing else to play for this season as well. They're still the 4th or something, the 4th or 5th.
They're fifth in the Premier League at the minute. They're 2 points off Newcastle in 4th place. They have played a game more than Newcastle as well.
So this is probably their biggest game of the season, if you think on it, trying to get into the next round of the Champions League, which have got a chance against an aging Milan team. I mean, that Milan team, as we talked about it on Thursday night there, they've got Origi and Giroud up front. Yeah, they could have a field day against this Tottenham team.
Definitely
tomorrow night.
Just to add on to that, Pedro Porro, I feel like he's going to be one that needs time to settle. Obviously, he's got to build his relationship with Kulusevski. But I am surprised after Emerson's performance against Man City that they decided to put Porro in from the start because he was one of their best players. And he's not been that good for Tottenham all season. That's why they've obviously gone and spent the money at right wing back. But I mean, you mentioned about creating chances. Against Man City, they only created, I think, 5 chances. Or something like that. So they're having definite problems. And to go on to the AC Milan thing as well, they are suffering from a bit of an injury crisis themselves. Benacia, Tomori, Mike, Manan, and Florenzi are out. They're all out. Apparently, Mike is back in training, but whether he's going to be fit enough to start or to play any part, I do not know. So they are a bit weaker themselves, but I think not struggling as much as Tottenham are. Tottenham very inconsistent at the minute.
I mean, you look at the. I mean, I'm looking at that. You said Benacia's out injured tomorrow, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be a loss for them because he played at the weekend and he played well in that game against Torino. But I mean, and we've seen last time when a certain FmKing Tomori came back from back to London against Chelsea. He had a game to forget. So this is his first game back in England since then. I'll be interested to see how he gets on tomorrow against Tottenham. Because
apparently he's out with a thigh injury.
What is he? Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
It's Tomori, Benacer, Mike Manan, and Florenzi are the injury problems for AC Milan. The only one that's got an actual date when they're back is Florenzi mid-Feb. Mike's back in training, but I don't know how long he's been back for. The other two are unknown on how long they're going to be out for.
That could be a blow. I mean, again, that could be a blow for AC Man going forward as well, because you say Tomori's probably their best centre back as well. Especially key last season.
We all know about the numbers he was hitting before the World Cup because England fans were going mad that he wasn't selected in the team.
Exactly. So, gonna ask you a score prediction for this one tomorrow.
I think that both defenses are going to be significantly weaker, and because of that, I feel like there's going to be goals in the game.
Okay,
but I feel like it's going to be a 2-2.
I've
sat on the fence on who's going to win it because both teams, like, if they turn up on their day, they're great.
Yep.
But if they don't, it's like watching two like non-league teams. It really is.
Definitely. I mean, I'm going to hedge it to Milan being the home team. I'm going to say 2-1 to Milan, just because I feel a certain Mr. Giroud will have he might have a nice field day against his former rivals from Chelsea and Arsenal, so he might be more inspired tomorrow night to try and put one over his old North London rivals.
Definitely.
So then we've got Wednesday night's games. So we've got Club Brugge versus Benfica. A wee side note on Club Brugge, they've appointed Scott Parker as their new manager, which, if Scott Parker fell out a 20-story building, he would land on his feet, it seems. Go from film to Club Brugge. I mean, going from a very poor Fulham, at that time, very poor Fulham team to where they became now, to a Champions League team in the last the knockout rounds of the Champions League. How do you think this will go, King?
I think Benfica should still win.
Yeah,
I know that they've lost Enzo Fernandez, but they've still got very good players. And I think they should probably have enough to see out Club Brugge. I don't want to be disrespectful to Club Brugge because they're no pushovers, but I think on paper Benfica probably just that bit stronger.
Yeah. I'm just kind of like you said, I'm looking at these injuries. They've got Olsen and Utkla out both until end of February, start of March.
Yeah.
So I mean, Bruges, they're doing okay. I think they're doing okay in the.
That's 5 games, 1-1, drew 4.
Yeah.
Benfica won 4, drew 1-4. Is it lost 1? I think, or drew 1.
I mean, I know. Well, they've also got a keeper that we all know and love, Simon Mignolet's in goal for them. He looks like he's been okay. I mean, he's not conceding that many goals. Of late, I mean, what's that? 6 goals he's conceded in the last 5 games.
I mean, if you look at their Champions League group as well, Bruges, they did have Porto, Leverkusen, and Atletico Madrid. So you wouldn't have expected at the start of the season for them to qualify in second place. They won 3, drew 2, lost 1, scored 7, conceded 4. So generally they don't score many, but they also conceded the least in their group. So they're tight at the back, but then that comes with a sacrifice going forward. But they must have beaten the likes of They beat Leverkusen at home. They beat Atletico at home. Trying to just look.
I think Atletico Madrid finished bottom because of the results against Bruges. Atletico just that poor this season in the Champions League.
Atletico finished level on points with Leverkusen. They only had 5, whereas Bruges went through on 11.
It just shows. I mean, Bruges are no mugs to play against. I think tomorrow night should be an interesting game because it's one that everyone I think will be kind of looking forward to. For if you're a neutral, because it's 2 teams that you didn't expect to be in the knockout rounds of the Champions League. So it sets up for an interesting tie.
It's also like Benfica. Their group was PSG, Juventus, and Maccabi Haifa.
Yeah.
And yeah, go. What? Sorry about that.
That's no problem.
And Maccabi Haifa.
Yeah.
Benfica actually topped that group. They didn't just qualify in second place. They topped a group with Paris Saint-Germain and Juve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah. I mean,
all right. They topped it on, I think it was, their goal difference was the same. I think they might have even been on the same scored and against. I think it was done on head-to-head.
Head-to-head, yeah.
So, but they didn't lose. So I know that Bruges did well to do what they did and qualify, but I'm going to go definitely, if I was to put a score prediction down on it, 3-1 Benfica, because Benfica's Champions League performance so far this season has just been unstoppable. I know they've lost Enzo Fernandez, but they've got quite a few young, decent players, and their academy is quite good.
Yeah, I mean, just have a look at their players just now. You've got the boy Guedes from on loan from Wolves. Got Neres. They've got Otamendi, who's strong at the back. They've got the young boy Silva. They've got Grimaldo, who Arsenal fans will be remembered by. Arsenal and Barcelona fans. They've got Yao Mario. Again, it's some clubs will remember when he was at West Ham United. Sport. He was at Sporting on loan. He was at Inter Milan. He's been around the blocks. Yao Mario, and he's still a good player as well. He's got 12 goals this season in all competitions, 4 assists. So he's one to look out for tomorrow. But I think I'll maybe go with you. I'll probably say I think it'll be a high scoring game. I'm going to say 4. I'm going to say 4-0 actually to Benfica. I think they'll just have too much for Bruges tomorrow night. Just going on by recent form, because they've scored. What's that? So that's it. They've scored 9 goals. Sorry, 8 goals. No, sorry. What's that? 11 goals in the last 4 games. Away from I'm at home and away, so they're looking good, Benfica. And like you said, the loss of Enzo Fernandez hasn't seemed to have hampered them in any shape or form as well. Which nice we segue into our last game of the Champions League. Big one tomorrow. Big one on Wednesday night. Borussia Dortmund versus Chelsea. How do you see this one going, King?
This is a tough one to call, really, because both teams are really good. They're top teams in their countries. Chelsea at the minute are still they're still gelling their players, what they've brought in. You know, it shows in the league. What have they drew their last 2 or 3 games or something since signing Fernandez? They're still not the finished article. They're still this. We went over these not long ago in previous pods, so check that out if you haven't. But I mean, obviously both teams have got certain players. I'm gonna say, because Dortmund are at home, I'm gonna go for a Dortmund win, maybe 2-1. I still think it's gonna be tight, but I think they could have enough to beat Chelsea at home.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably agree with you. Because I watched the game against West Ham at the weekend. There was signs of improvement in Chelsea against West Ham, but there's still something missing from that back line. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's positional wise or mentality, or like you said, they're still trying to get to know each other, basically, because it is virtually a brand new team. And okay, 3 new signings for Chelsea can join the Champions League squad. I think they went for Barashile, Madueke, and So Fernandez, Barashile, and somebody else they went with.
João Felix,
yeah. So they're still going to be.
Sorry, I was just going to say, and they've got Sterling out injured, Kovacic out injured, Edouard Mendy out injured, Zakaria out injured, Pulisic out injured, Broja out injured, Kante out injured, and Wesley Fofana all out injured.
Yep. The majority of them are, apart from maybe Pulisic, they're all starters. And Mendy just now, they're all starters for Chelsea. So, as we've said in the previous podcast, go and check that out as well, like King said.
The other thing as well, they're not just starters, but they're all, I think most of them are registered in that Champions League squad. Yep. So their Champions League squad for tomorrow, the team that they're going to be able to send over, is going to be hard hit.
Yeah.
It's going to have some quality players in there, don't get me wrong, because you've got the likes of James, Thiago Silva. If Badiashile was in there, he'll be obviously in. Chilwell's just come back. You're going to have Havertz and Felix and Enzo Fernandez, but then you're going to have other players that maybe might not have been starters at the start of the season that are having to come in. And
Lewis Hall, he'll probably get because he's under 21, so I think they can register him for basically he's a free pick basically because he's under 21. So it is a bit of a mess because, like you said, half of them are registered for the Champions League, and they can only register 3 new players. So
it's a big one as well, to be honest, because Chelsea are currently, I think, 10th or 9th in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So with them being like 10 points off 4th, do they think, oh, wow, it's going to be hard for us to catch up with that? Do we go for a Champions League win to qualify for the Champions League? Liverpool are in the same sort of boat as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
But it's going to be one of them. Dortmund side, I know Makoko is a doubt.
Makoko's out for 7 weeks, just been confirmed by the club, so that's a loss for Dortmund. But
I didn't know that. I had was unknown. The other 2 players that are on my list, I don't know, so I'm not going to bother going into them because they're probably young players.
Makoko is out for between 6 and 7 weeks. Picked up an injury at the weekend, but they've got players like Bellingham who's starting to hit top form. I mean, they've got Haller scoring goals. They've got Boys still. See, the thing
they've got Mailing and stuff like that as well, haven't they? So they've got other strikers.
Exactly. I mean, and they're quite solid at the back line as well. I mean, they've got good players in that Dortmund team. And as we said before on last week's pods, regarding the European games, they're starting to pick up some big scores and big points away from home as well. So they're tactically sound. They're tactically sound at that just now. But it's just whether they can take that league form into their Champions League form as well. So it'll be interesting. I think I'm gonna sit on the fence. I'm gonna go a Desmond Tutu, 2 each, because
you're a Chelsea fan.
I'm a Chelsea fan. So
I mean, do you know what? You might not be wrong because Chelsea are on a drawing sequence, so
exactly.
it might not be a bad shout to go for that. I just feel going away. You've got the yellow wall at Dortmund. If Dortmund are to progress into the next round, they need to pick up something at home because coming to Chelsea, that gives time for more players to come back and be fit for Chelsea.
Yep.
It gives them more time to then gel their new signings together. So it's going to be a bit harder second leg, I'd presume.
I think this one's probably the tightest of the games this week. I would say between all 4 clubs in the Champions League this week, I think this is probably the tightest one because, like you said, you don't know what Chelsea team's going to turn up. Is it going to be the team that we've seen before, like kind of in the Premier League, or is this going to be their European one that it can go on a crazy run and get to the Champions League final, as we've seen in the past?
Well, but the year that they won the Champions League with Thomas Tuchel, they wasn't doing the best in the league, was they? I don't think so.
I think they finished 4th that season, so and they were still qualified for the Champions League, but with obviously winning it, then they got that guarantee, if you will, to get through to the Champions League.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like this with all cup competitions. You can't go on league form because when it comes to a cup, anything can happen. And if you've had good form in the previous rounds, you build on that. You look at the FA Cup, for example, or the Carabao Cup. Southampton got to the semi-final. They're bottom of the Premier League.
Exactly.
So it's a different competition. Players have different morale for that. So you never know. You can't rule anybody out at this stage.
Exactly. So that is us done for the Champions League one. So we're now going to switch over